Hey, it's your Wisconsin wine guy. I'm back with another Q&A session. This is the part where I answer questions that are sent in to me from my different platforms and email. I like to start this process, I should say, end of last year, where I was going to start doing a video, of myself answering the questions. Thereby, it's a record that people can share. And if you're trying to find an answer, you can do a search, and then the answer will be there. So lots of good questions I received, and here's a question that I received recently that I thought I'd do a video for. I thought this is a really good question, the way they wrote it. So the question goes, what's a good wine, and what makes a wine a good wine? I thought that was a really good question. So I'm going to give you a long answer and a short answer. So let's do the long answer first. To me, a good wine is a wine that has less human intervention. I mean, the winemaking process is a natural process, but then there are times in which the winemaker wants to build consistency in how that wine tastes, and they may kind of manipulate the wine in order for it to taste the same every time. For example, if the wine constantly has less acidity, or maybe the winemaker wants to make sure the wines always have acidity, they may add an acidity agent to it. Let's say the coloring, they want to keep a consistent color. If they're not using just another grape with a deeper color, there's a coloring agent that you can add to wine, which you can sometimes taste it. But those are interventions, but a wine can just be made on its own in nature. As soon as, you have heat, you have the natural yeast, as soon as that skin splits open, that yeast gets in, start eating the sugar, boom, it turns alcohol. Of course, it's uncontrolled, but it's a natural process. But most importantly, once the wine is made, there are 4 components that have to do with taste when tasting wine. And it's going to be different for everyone when you taste these components. And those components are acidity, not necessarily in this order: acidity, alcohol, sugar, tannins. Okay, 4 components. Now, the objective with every winemaker and with every wine that you're tasting is that these components are in balance. I like to call it harmony on the palate. Nothing spiking over the other, but at times we may like one component over the other. You see what's happening here? We're talking about a good wine, but in the basic sense, you want those components to be in balance. Now, I like to add something else to that component list, which you probably won't find in a lot of different lists, and that is fruit. I mean, let's be real. It is a fruit. The wine's been made from grapes. How many times have you probably tasted a wine and you couldn't even taste the fruit? You taste all these other elements and characteristics and flavors, but it didn't taste like fruit. So to me, that's important too, that the wine must taste like fruit, or more specifically of the fruit from which it's made. It's just like if you're tasting an apple wine or a strawberry wine or a blueberry wine, why can't I taste grape from a grape wine? Okay, so fruit is important to me. And sugar, we come to the sugar part of the component. Sugar can be sweet in an off-dry style or dry. But most importantly, it's still having all that in balance. Every component, take those components again: acidity, alcohol, tannins, and sugar. Finding balance. So that's the long answer. For the short answer, how I always said at the end of every video, let your palate be the guide. That is most important, because everyone's palate is going to perceive a difference when tasting wine and make a determination of if this wine is good or not good. When I'm giving my reviews, it's just my opinion. When you read the reviews in the magazines, the scoring, that's just their opinion. It's just a guide. But most importantly is when you taste the wine, you're making a determination if that wine is a good wine or a bad wine. Now, of course, bad can be that the wine is funky or something's wrong with it, yes. But we're only talking about good wines in this video for the question. So now, I recommend, here's what you do. Start yourself a wine journal. All right, with your wine journal, you're recording, the obvious things: the name of the wine, the winery's name. Take down the alcohol. Take down a note on style. Is it sweet? Is it dry? If it's off dry, take down information on the smell. But most importantly, the taste is what we're dealing with. How does it taste? We're going to use Cabernet. We're going to pick on Cabernet. You may be tasting this particular Cabernet, and this Cabernet you're tasting, when you deal with the components, it's very tannic. Tannic to the point that you That dry, sucking the moisture out of your mouth, high tannic wines. Well, you may not like that. Does that make it a bad wine? No. It makes it a wine that's not fitting for your palate because you don't like that. But you'll take a note of that. Then you go to the next Cabernet and you're taking your notes, and all of a sudden you feel those tannins, but it's like, oh my God, I feel them, but it's not like sucking the moisture out of my mouth. Well, you like that on the next wine, so you take a note. And so what happens, you have this compilation of all these notes on wines, still looking at Cabernet, and you're guiding yourself to a style of wine that you like. Now, here's a surprising thing that would happen over time. You'll watch the evolution of your palate. It will go up, it will change, it will go down, it will go from red to white to bubbles, many different styles. So take your notes, and what makes a good wine? Well, it's simple. Let your palate be the guide. It's your Wisconsin Wine Guy, and I'll see you next time when I answer your wine questions. Bye.